Almost all professional athletes, golfers and tennis players perhaps not included, tend to have a finite period when they can maximise their potential at the top of their sport. And triathlon, as an endurance sport by its very nature, is perhaps one of those ones where you can maximise more time than you might think. I think of it as like layers to an onion. You can keep adding those endurance and experience levels as the years go by.
Nice analogy, but that inevitable closure to their career will eventually come rolling around. So then what does the professional athlete that spent their whole life racing, what do they do now? What do they do with their life? What career do they take? Well, we are going to be exploring that today. We're going to be looking at the different paths that triathletes have taken once their days as a professional triathlete have come to an end.
Bevan Docherty captured almost all the honours that a triathlete could dream of. Not only did he become world champion at the Madeira ITU Championships in 2004 after an epic sprint battle with Spain's Van Rana, he was also a dual Olympic medal winner with silver at the Athens Olympics and then bronze again in Beijing 4 years later. He also had a number of incredible second places, with second at 2006 Melbourne Commonwealth Games and again at the ITU World Champs in Vancouver 4 years later.
Yeah, absolutely incredible athlete. I used to love watching him. It was just so exciting every race, it always seemed to be. And he really just knew how to arrive on the day and perform well. And he actually also then went to step up to Ironman distance and was really quite successful at it, although you might argue didn't reach the same heights that he did in his short course ITU days. And he did actually comment, "There is no doubt I have more victories in me. However, over the last few years, it has been increasingly more difficult to reach that form and even harder to hold it. Back in the day, I could peak for months on end, but nowadays, I'm lucky to get a few weeks."
Yeah, and interestingly, in terms of what he went on to do after his career finished, he had already attained his private pilot's license by the time he'd finished his career, and then was aspiring to go on to get his commercial license thereafter. So quite the change from swim, bike and run.
Well, this next athlete was one of my idols when I actually very first started triathlon. It is Brad Kahlefeldt, and he is actually one of Australia's most successful male ITU short course athletes. And not only did he win the Commonwealth Games on home turf at the Melbourne 2006 Games, he also won multiple ITU World Championship medals and also went to 2 Olympic Games for Australia.
Yeah, and it didn't stop there because he moved seamlessly into a long course career. He won 70.3s all over the world in different climates and conditions, and even raced at Ironman Hawaii too. But after 20 years of racing at the very highest level in 2018, he hung up the race suit.
Yeah, and whilst he may be retired, he has said that he's going to continue running as he tries to basically race and do elite marathon running. But whilst he has stepped away from professional triathlon, he has maybe taken a slightly different path from what we might expect, because Brad is currently in the process of studying for and completing all the necessary procedures for him to start owning and managing a McDonald's franchise.
Our next athlete is Chrissie Wellington, who burst unannounced onto the scene effectively in 2007 by virtue of winning her first attempt at the Ironman world title in Hawaii, which she'd only qualified for a few weeks previously at Ironman Korea. Now, fast forward 5 jam-packed seasons later, and Chrissie was retiring unbeaten from Ironman distance racing after winning her 4th global title in 2011. Now, she returned home to the UK after having been living in the US in 2012, where she embarked on a new relationship with the Park Run organisation, who organise free weekly timed 5k running events and are free and open to everyone.
Yeah, now she actually first encountered Park Run and their events when she was actually out for a Saturday jog in London, and she went through Richmond Park and just stumbled across hundreds of people lining up to take part in one of their events. And she decided she'd gate crash it that day. But she did, of course, return and officially take part. But then in February 2013, she actually joined forces with Parkrun and essentially joined to bang the drum for participation within the organisation, and also has helped other events with healthy lifestyle and also just getting people active. Our next athlete is Greg Welch. He's not only in the Ironman Hall of Fame, he's also in Triathlon Australia's and the ITU's Hall of Fame. And he is one of the great icons of the sport.
Yeah, now although he'd actually won the ITU short course world title in 1990, he became the first non-American male to win on the Big Island in 1994 when he famously beat Dave Scott, who was racing back on the island for the first time since he'd had the incredible Iron War of 1989 with Mark Allen. And Greg Welch has gone on to state that this was the biggest highlight of my life. I still see Hawaii as being the highlight of our sport and the premier race outside of the Olympic Games. Those are the two races that you want to win.
Yeah, and although now you will actually see him doing a lot of the commentary on the Ironman live feed online for the major Ironman races, he actually also holds quite a senior role at OAKLEY, where he helps and deals with a lot of the world's top athletes in not only triathlon, but also summer and winter sports. Well, now we have an exceptional athlete, Sheila Taormina, and so exceptional in fact, we're not going to necessarily be discussing her retirement from triathlon, but rather her retirement after 3 sports, and at quite a high level as well.
Yeah, so she started off her career as a swimmer and was a member of the 4x200 freestyle relay quartet and won gold medal at the Atlanta Olympic Games in 1996. She then turned her hand to Olympic distance triathlon, and by the inaugural Games at Sydney, she had come a very impressive 6th place. She then managed to win the ITU World Championships in Madeira in the next Olympic year of 2004, where she then went on to compete at that Athens Games and become a triple Olympian at that point.
Yeah, and this is where the story gets even more interesting, because it's as if that wasn't enough, being content with going to 2 Olympic Games in swimming and triathlon, she then decided, why not give it another go and go to another Olympic Games, but now in modern pentathlon. So now she had to add shooting, fencing and horse riding into the mix.
Yes, so at the grand old age of 37, she became the first and still only woman to compete in 3 different sports across 3 different Olympic Games, but actually 4 games in total, because there was 2 as triathlon. And if you ask me, that is just one heck of a way to retire from sport. Conrad Stoltz is arguably the most notable triathlete to come out of South Africa. After a career of 24 long years as a professional triathlete across road and off-road triathlon, but he's probably most well known for his 7 off-road world titles at Xterra and Cross Triathlon.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to actually race him a couple of times, and I do remember at the ITU World Cross Champs, he came past me like a steam train on the bike. He was absolutely incredible. And in addition to all of that, he's been to 2 Olympic Games and he's won over 50 Xterra World Tour events, which is incredible. But since his retirement from the sport, Conrad, or also known as the Caveman, has really got stuck into, he started throwing his passion and energy into the fast-growing industry of trail building in and around his hometown of Stellenbosch in South Africa.
Now, this is just a selection of some of the athletes who've gone on to do some rather, well, shall we say, interesting things with their lives after their careers have finished. And we really hope that you've enjoyed hearing them.
Yeah, of course, there are probably plenty more interesting stories out there post-racing lives. So if you do know of any, please do drop them in the comments section below. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you'd like to see more from GTN, just click on the globe and subscribe. And don't forget, you can head on over to the GTN shop and get hold of some of our GTN goodies, hoodies, cycling gear and whatnot. And if you would like to see our interview with some professional athletes and seeing what they eat, then just click down here.
And for an interview that was done with Chrissie Wellington, you can see that here.